Okay, listen up. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to gain absolute mastery over the body's water and electrolyte balance. The stakes, they couldn't be higher. The traps are lethal, and on your board exams, failure is simply not an option. Let's get started. But first, the mandatory briefing. This is our international medical disclaimer. Everything we cover here is for educational and exam prep purposes only. This is not medical advice. For any clinical decisions, you must consult official guidelines and a specialist physician. All right, mission briefing starts now. Time is a luxury we don't have, so we're starting with a high-speed blitz of the core intelligence. You're going to want to pay very close attention. So, let's talk about the key player on the field, ADH, also known as vasopressin. Think of the posterior pituitary gland as the control room for the body's entire plumbing system. And ADH, that's the master key. This one little hormone controls pretty much everything we're about to go over. It is the absolute key to water balance. Now, this system can fail in two completely opposite ways. If you don't have enough ADH, you get diabetes insipidus. You're just dumping massive amounts of dilute urine, and you have this incredible unquenchable thirst. But if you have way too much ADH, you get SIADH. Now you're holding on to water, your sodium levels plummet, and your urine becomes super concentrated. See? Two sides of the exact same coin. So let's say the plumbing's broken. You gotta find the leak. The test is actually pretty clever. You give the patient desmopressin. That's just a synthetic version of ADH. If the kidneys suddenly wake up and start concentrating the urine like they're supposed to, well, you know the problem was the brain not sending the signal. That's central GI. But what if you give the ADH and nothing happens? Well, then the problem's the kidneys themselves. They're basically deaf to the signal. That's nephrogenic DI. Okay, let's walk through a classic case. You have a 25-year-old guy, just had a head injury. He's now putting out 6 liters of crystal clear urine every single day. We check his blood, and his sodium is high, 148. And his urine is incredibly dilute, meaning its osmolarity is way down. The entire diagnosis is going to come down to what we do next. So we put him on a water deprivation test. We've stopped him from drinking for 4 hours, but his urine is still totally dilute. So we've just given him IV desmopressin. Now here's the question. What are we actually looking for? What is the one critical piece of data that's going to solve this entire puzzle? We are waiting for the kidney's answer. We already know the system is broken. By giving desmopressin, we're essentially sending a direct message to the kidneys, asking them one very simple question. Can you hear me now? Their response is going to tell us everything we need to know. And really, there are only 2 possible answers. If his urine osmolality suddenly skyrockets, jumps by more than 50%, bam, we have our diagnosis, central diabetes insipidus. The speaker in his brain was broken from the injury. But if the urine just stays dilute, then the problem is the radio in his kidneys. They can't hear the signal. And that, my friends, is nephrogenic DI. Okay, lean in for this one. We've figured out how to find the leak. But now we're coming to the single most common, high-stakes, and absolutely lethal trap you're going to face on your board exams. This is where a simple mistake can have devastating consequences. So remember SIADH? The problem is too much ADH. The patient is retaining a ton of extra free water, and it dilutes their sodium way, way down. This is called hyponatremia. It's critical to remember the sodium is low simply because the whole system is waterlogged. So the temptation, the knee-jerk reaction, is to fix it fast. Sodium is low, well, let's just give saline and pull that number right back up. Seems logical, seems like the right thing to do, but it is a deadly, deadly trap. You need to burn this phrase into your brain because a patient's life literally depends on it. From low to high, your pawns will die. If you raise that sodium level too quickly, you trigger an absolute catastrophe called osmotic demyelination syndrome. You are literally stripping the insulation, the myelin, off the nerves in the brain, especially in the pons. It is a catastrophic and irreversible injury. So what's the safe speed limit? 8 milliequivalents per liter in a full 24-hour period. That is the absolute red line. You go any faster and you are putting the brain at extreme risk. When it comes to fixing sodium, slow and steady is the only thing that saves the brain. All right, it is time to lock this logic in. We're going to run a rapid-fire drill to basically hardwire these core concepts right into your neural circuits. You ready?
Let's go. Diabetes insipidus. What's the serum sodium? High. Hypernatremia. Okay, SIADH. What's the serum sodium? Low. Hyponatremia. What if you have DI and the kidneys respond to desmopressin? Central DI. Right. What if they don't respond? Nephrogenic DI. And the number one danger of correcting hyponatremia too fast? Osmotic demyelination. Good. Target parameters locked.
Excellent work. Mission complete. You now possess the core logic to handle the water wars. But I have to warn you, this was only the first battle.
You've made it through the water wars. But if you can't navigate the sudden hormonal crashes of Sheehan syndrome or handle the lethal intracranial pressure from pituitary apoplexy, you are not ready. Mastering water balance is one thing. Surviving a total pituitary failure is the next level entirely.
So I'll leave you with this question. Are you really ready for the acute hormonal crashes and the lethal pressures of the pituitary gland? Your training continues. Stay mission ready.